what it do. So today we have Mr. Ahmard here. He is a motivational consultant, international speaker, coach, and author. Mr. Ahmard has actually published a book that has definitely gone international in the sports industry. Mr. Ahmard, definitely welcome you for being on YTP Entertainment. Thank you so much for this opportunity to get to interview you. Tell us, what other hats are you actually wearing these days?
First and foremost, thank you for having me on and being with your audience at this time. But, you know, there isn't many hats. Obviously, my first love and really what is at my core is writing. I started off as a writer probably about the age of 11. So I've had a pen in my hand, and I feel like it's the greatest tool God has given me to be able to express myself. So I'm a writer and an author. I'm also a speaker, consultant for young people. I'm a teen ministry leader. I put together, seminars and different things of that nature. And I also am a fitness instructor. So I'm a certified fitness instructor as well, which is what I do. On 3 or 4 times out of the week, I teach indoor cycling and boot camp. So, and I guess outside of that, I guess you could say I'm an uncle and father to many. Awesome. Through the ministry and through my coaching work. I have been, especially when I started working with the 2 p.m. Spanish service, they call the Uncle the Tío. And so I have taken on that role many times over. I lean in on it because the teens look at me in that regard, and in their culture, Tío is considered a very, very high praise as far as someone in their lives. So I guess you say that's all the hats I wear. I'm pretty sure a couple more of them will pop up somewhere. But I think I hit them all because I got a to-do list over here that's longer than the Declaration of Independence. So let's just get into it, man.
It's all good, man. Many blessings to you, my brother, and thank you so much, definitely, for being here on YTP Entertainment, man. It's definitely been inspirational. I was reading your story, and one of the biggest things that stuck out was how you've actually helped a lot of people in the athletic industry. Me being a former basketball player, I played in AM1, I played in a bunch of summer leagues, and I also played for my elementary school. So me being in that industry, what type of motivation are you actually giving these people that has stretched so far?
Obviously, I've been a sports writer probably since the age of 14. And so I was always able to cover top athletes. But I think coming into 2008 is when I started really leaning into when I joined the Rivals and Scout.com group and Fox Sports Southwest, being a college football recruiting analyst. That really, I was always interviewing athletes. I was interviewing top guys for many years. But once I started doing that, I was able to see the recruiting process, see these college coaches recruiting these young men. And over time, I just wanted to know more. Like, I see, Andrew Luck throwing touchdowns. I see Russell Shepard. I see Michael Thomas. I see all of these guys. I saw Kyler Murray many times through the school, even though I would only see him during the state games because he was in Dallas and I'm in Houston.
Yes.
But all of these guys, man, I saw a number of these guys coming out of high school, and they were top high-end guys. And so once I started doing that work, once I broke off independently and started helping young men get scholarships on their own, after doing the research, now I wanted to dig in a little bit deeper and say, what is it behind the success? Because even at the pro level, you'll see guys and we're just like, this guy's a can't miss. And it's like, well, how did we miss on him? How's a guy, top 50 in the country, top 10, overall pick in the NFL draft, and he lasts 3 years? How is that possible? And so what I learned is that the guys who I was working with and understanding what made them successful is they had a servant leadership mentality, like a high level of altruism. Like, they were always about making others better instead of just looking to themselves. And so they set high goals, but they never just looked at their personal goals in a vacuum. They were always looking to, hey, I got a guy over here, I'm a 5-star athlete, but I got this 2-star guy over here. Maybe I can elevate him to a 3 and help us win some games. And, guys like, a lot of guys were coming up, they played different positions in high school than they got recruited for in college, which means they were willing to do something else to help the team win, as opposed it was going to be better for their bottom line. Of course, they still got recruited because they can still see they were great athletes, but they were playing out of position. But I'm sure you saw that a lot coming up in the basketball world. On some teams, this guy's a 2-guard, but we need you to play the 3 on this other team because we're short over here. And so these guys had an altruistic servant attitude, and they always wanted to raise the boats of everyone around them. So, the dream building and goal setting, they brought others into that world with them to make sure that everybody, the rising tides brings up all those guys. I remember talking to a number of my guys, and they wanted to do so much more, to where college coaches would want to come out and see their teammates. So they would feed their teammates more opportunities. Whereas maybe I could tuck the ball and run here. Let me find a way to get the ball to this receiver who's not getting as much shine. He needs more clips on his highlight tape. And so they would be thinking about these things. Of course, they're thinking about winning, but they're also thinking about, how can I make this young man better? So that whereas I'm going to LSU, I'm going to USC, I'm going to Oklahoma, I'm going to Tennessee, I'm going to Texas, Michigan, Ohio State. Can I help him get to a D2 school possibly? Out of nowhere. And so these guys would always think on those levels. And I always thought that was the greatest thing they brought to a team, was the fact that it wasn't about them, even though all the attention was surrounded around them, but they always used to deflect and shift it to other people.
That selfless mentality.
Yes.
Definitely. That's one thing I learned about. I had the privilege of actually being able to shoot around a bit with Michael Jordan. And it was fun because I worked at the United Center, and when he come out, he would come down to the basement, or he would have someone call down there and ask me to come upstairs. So I actually got a chance to play on the Bulls' actual floor a while before the games actually started. And it was a lot of fun because he would be teaching me some different things that would help me be better at the sport, my favorite sport, So, and he showed that selfless mentality as well, because even with the other guys that were on the bench, he would show them how they could get more time, as opposed to just sitting there on the bench. So I totally understand firsthand what that selfless mentality actually looks like and feels like. But it's a blessing. It's a true blessing to see that you have other players out there, although, like you said, they are in the highlight of the whole entire game, they still look at others to help bring them up to a level that they are on. And that's awesome. That's awesome. I commend everyone that actually does that. I commend them, because that selfless mentality is what's actually going to help keep the game going, for one, and for two, it's going to give you the opportunity to have that backup whenever you need it, and the coach can actually say, hey, you're doing pretty good, let's go ahead and put you in to give the bigger guys a break. You know what I'm saying? It's a blessing. It is. So at the age of 14, what made you gear towards going in that direction?
Well, I always was a writer, but I also started sports pretty early. My father put me in summer track when I was like 10 years old. So I learned the competitive nature early on, which is something I extremely advocate for, especially for young men, to get in competitive sports at as early an age as possible. I'm not even really concerned if they're that good or that talented, because I've always looked at sports, and obviously through the research has come as well. Sports is a metaphor and a larger picture of life, right? Because things you learn in sports, you can use in corporate America, you can use for community centers, you can use at your job, you can use as a teacher, you can use as a lawyer, use as an entrepreneur. And so, and for the way I see it is that we have to get back to the essence of competitive sports.
Yes.
We've lost our way there, because there's nothing that burns my soul more than rewarding losses. I do know that losses are part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that you're not worthy of some level of acknowledgement in that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start celebrating losses and you start downplaying the essence of losses without getting the lesson from it, now we have a problem, because that creates entitlement. That creates where you don't buy into delayed gratification, which is part of what everybody's success story is.
Yes.
There's a reason why youngsters are coming out of college thinking they need to be making 80K, and they have a liberal arts degree.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's like, what are you doing? And so the reason why I got into sports early on is because I was an athlete and I was also a writer, and I was pretty good at it. And so I was writing for community newspapers, making $25 an article for writing basically for my school newspaper, which I became the editor as a junior, up to the local newspaper who couldn't afford to send a writer down to our school. So I would write it for the paper and then I would send it over to them. And you got to remember, in 1993, getting paid $25 for an article, that was major. That was major money. You write 2 articles and get $50.
Yeah.
I could stretch $50 almost the last 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so at a time when, I was in the house with 2 school teachers. My father was a professor. My mom was a teacher, my elementary school teacher. Okay. So I had to learn the essence of working early on, and sports writing was a venue for me to be able to do that. Okay. To be able to put pen to pad and highlight other individuals whom I went to school with, and be able to make some money at the same time. And so it was a love of mine, but it also was able to make me some cash as well. And I needed it at that time.
Hey, that's awesome. Hey, at least you found something that would actually help you continuously move forward versus taking those steps back and staying back. And I always teach people in my mentorship, I always teach them when you're in a situation, there's a difference in looking back and stepping back. Because when you look back, you just reflecting on something that you learned that happened to you and you learned how to overcome that. But when you step back, 9 times out of 10, you're going to continuously keep stepping back. Mm-hmm. And a real person of determination, admiration, and that has that go-getter's mentality, you never want to step back. You always would prefer to look back rather than to step back. And some of us become overachievers in that aspect because we choose to just take that look, remember where we came from, and keep it moving. So,
well, and it's almost like you want to get to the point where overachieving is the goal, mm-hmm. right? Because if we take it from a biblical sense, right? Like, it's not meant for us to figure everything out on our own. We're supposed to lean, on God for a higher understanding, because our human mind is limited. We're supposed to, lean into our Father for something greater. So when we say overachieving, that's really just a trust, right? And saying, hey, I've laid this out. Mm-hmm. I'm not enough to be able to figure this bigger picture out, right? Your goal might be, okay, this year I want to, net $1 million. Well, yeah, that's a goal you put out there, but maybe your Father has something greater for you that you haven't even thought of. Because why? You couldn't have thought of this because, we've seen opportunities where you put an opportunity out there and you leaned in on something and it worked well for you, and then it trickled into 3, 4, 5 other events. You didn't think about 3, 4, and 5. You was only 1 to 2. Exactly. And then when larger things start happening, it's like, and that's where, gratitude comes in. That's where, trust comes in, where faith comes in. And so when we talk about overachieving, it's almost more of a trust, more of a, hey, I'm going to put this down here and I'm going to, call for the blessings within this and be able to make some things happen from there, because that's sort of where I've taken my life to at this point in time, when it's just opened up and it's saying, hey, I know what I want. but I know you have something greater, and I'm open to what that is, even though I have no clue what that looks like. Not one, right? Even the fact I can even take it from the standpoint of being on a podcast like you. Like a month ago, I didn't know who you were, yet here we are, right? And so you embrace that, and you don't even know how the dots connect for this to happen. Like you could have easily just scrolled past an email from me, right? I could have easily just scrolled past like, oh, whatever, no big deal. Like, and now we're here sharing wisdom with other people, right? This is not about either one of us. This is about, what's a way we can help others level up in this spot and become better individuals for them, be better people at home, be better people at work. And so the overachieving is the epitome of what we're doing right now. Like leaning into an opportunity that neither one of us had no clue about even a month ago.
That's exactly true. Exactly true. I always say that destiny has its way, and irregardless of how we feel about certain things, how we pre-plan for certain things, how we want things to go, when destiny says that these people should meet or this is a direction that you should go in, destiny is going to ensure that you go in that direction. And that's just the laws of nature. That's how nature see fit for this individual or this individual to go in the directions that they're supposed to go in order to be at that level of success that they either know about or don't know about. But once you get into it, what's the next phase? You might as well keep going because I've already got it started. But that's that go-getter's mentality. That's that go-getter's mentality. You got to keep going. So I was also looking at where you found that Guy Media Group. Can you give us some more information about that Guy Media Group?
So it's interesting. I obviously, as I was coming up and I was starting to go into business for myself, because I have been more of a contract guy for a lot of people, and I was just like, I really need to have a separation between Ahmard Vital and all the different work. I need something to house all the different media work I do. Like it's just vast and it's growing or whatever. So obviously I wanted to get an LLC started to where I could encompass my writing, my speaking, my consulting, and all of those things, put that all under one umbrella to where I'm able to do certain things from a business aspect, can detach myself from it, and as the company continues to grow, can start putting legs under it to where others are coming in, where my editor can come in under this, my road manager can come in under this. And so they can all work under that brand of That Guy Media Group. Because I mean, really, for the most part, that's not even really it's really more of a title on paper. It's not like, Bad Boy Records or something like that, to where it's like everyone knows the label. It's more of, the business LLC structure to be able to house all of my things from a tax standpoint, separate personal from the business and things of that nature. So, but as I'm continuing to grow that brand, even if it's not really a known brand from a visual standpoint, from on the back end, I am looking to load up and get more people involved in it right now. Like right now I got a new video guy I just brought on, because as well as I do, you need at least 4 video guys on call all the time, because those dudes unfortunately rotate out a lot. I'm looking to possibly upgrade my manager pretty soon, and I'm actually going to bring somebody on to help with some speech writing as well. Because obviously I'm a writer, but like I'm a writer who just unloads like a whole clip, but I maybe only need 4 shots. So I need to kind of bring things in, because I'm a bit of a wild gun when it comes to those types of things. But man has to know, you have to know your strengths and know that, like I share people all the time, I'm who I am because I'm a collection of a lot of people. Right. I have a lot of good men who pour into me. I have a lot of guys who counsel me, who mentor me, who pray for me, who support me in so many different ways. And so when I show up in this spot, I'm bringing the love and the wisdom of all of them into the spot, because of the support they've given me, which a lot of that's happened in the last 2 to 3 years. That's the beautiful thing about, when some tragedies happen, it gives an opportunity for saintly righteous people to kind of stand up and be like, hey, who's on my side in this? who's gonna truly love me through these struggles? Who's gonna, you know, love me when I'm displaced, when I'm down, when I'm at that moment where I got 3 or 4 limbs broken and I can't walk. Is there someone who will carry me to my next destination? And luckily, I'm at a place now where there's plenty of guys who pour into me of all age groups. I'm very big on community
Oh
when it comes
yes.
to those
Oh
types of
yes.
things. I'm talking, yeah, man. I'm talking about like a whole council. Like right now, I wanted like a nice, almost like my own boardroom.
Awesome.
Right now I have 3 or 4. I may round it out at 5, but who will be, part of, that guy media group as far as that's concerned. And, at some point my accountant is going to lean on me enough to where we get the nonprofit started. Just need to kind of see what that's going to look like. But definitely I know there's a lot of services young men are needing right now. And I know I need to just get my head into a room for a full weekend and just
Oh my.
hash it all out, get all the paperwork together, and just
Yes.
start soliciting the donations so we can go out here and do the running that needs to happen
Indeed.
across the country. Of course, I'm a guy who likes to take care of home first.
Got to.
Just feel like
Got
that's what
to.
we're called. You got to take care of. You got to take care of
Got to.
our
That's
home
that
first.
real man mentality right there.
True. And then, taking care of your local community. Cause as much as, I've been called to, New York, Michigan, California,
Hmm.
and different places or whatever, you know, if your next door neighbor is hungry, you might want to, look there. The person up the
Yes.
street needs you. You might want to look there. My
Mm.
local church, I'm gonna lean in on those teens first. Why? Because I need to build them up so that I can get them in a position where it's like, hey, um, daddy's gonna be gone for a week. You know, you all know where to find me, but you want to make sure and take care of home first. It's kind of like what Dr. Jordan Peterson says: go clean your doggone room up first before you try
Exactly.
to take on the world.
Exactly.
Like, hey, there's a pile of dirty clothes on your floor in there. You might want to wash those before you start talking about changing an entire
Mm.
economic system of the Southwest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do want to lean in on some of those types of things, and I do think that in due time, I do think that we're in a good season right now where there's a lot of change, and I'm just in an expectant phase of what's going to be next. We got some traveling coming up here over the next couple of months for business and for the ministry, and I'm just leaning in on all of it, man.
Hey, it's a blessing to be able to see the bigger picture and not just focus on oneself, something that was mentioned a bit earlier in our conversation. And I'm loving, the opportunities when some of our people can actually take that opportunity that they have and share those opportunities with the people that either have them because you have something different to offer than what they have, or the people that don't have those opportunities, and you being that mentor, you're being uplifting, and you're showing them that there is another world out there. I won't say better because better would mean, in my opinion, better would mean that it's whatever they're doing, there is a way to do it better than what they're doing. But when we're looking at a collection of people, a whole group of people, it's not always about what's better. It's about what's different from what they're doing, giving them the opportunity to open their minds up and see things in a different way. That's the way that I would actually see it and say that. You mentioned something earlier, and I feel like that's something very important for not only my audience, but for your audience to learn something from. So my question is, how do you see yourself now versus you in the past?
That's a complex because there's been at least 3 to 4 levels of growth probably since my mid 20s. I
Mhm.
came out of college at 26, I believe. And obviously I was a hustler, but I was a mess. I was, I lean I admittedly say I was a chain smoking alcoholic around that time. And it wasn't that I was going out to bars and stuff. Like I was like self-destructing at home.
Oh wow.
Pack every 2 days, just overweight. I probably was, man, I was, you know, 5'9", 240, size 40 in the waist. I was just a mess, just doing whatever I wanted. And then, I awakened from that. And there's been many levels. And, it's interesting. It was almost like on a prodigal son type situation. Like I went away from the father and just, blew all my cash, blew all of my health, blew all of my relationships and everything. But the difference between now and what back then is I've always been a hustler, but I never really leaned in on the service side as full as I am today. My mindset has shifted many times over. I'm looking to see how I can serve at the highest clip, and then just ask God, what are you calling me to do that I have not yet realized? And that's literally a prayer on that level happens every morning.
Yes.
What are you what can you reveal to me that I know not of, but it's in your will? And that attitude has really taken me to places that I can't even fathom. That they're beautiful and they're unfamiliar because those blessings are happening by the willingness to serve and by you leaning into on what you are called to do. And so I think the difference is between me from there and me from now is my level of gratitude and my level of service.
Awesome.
And I'd say probably a hint of humility, and from the standpoint that, like, I don't need to know everything. I don't. What I need to do is have the humility to go ask others, how do I do this? Exactly. How can we help each other? I'm in need of help right now. I need help editing this. I need help creating this. I need help pursuing this opportunity. Yes. And lo and behold, there's someone in your circle. This is what I tell people all the time, and your audience can pick up on this. The breakthrough you're needing in your life, you already know the person who's going to give you the breakthrough. You just haven't asked the question, and you haven't opened up and shared what it is you need. Because you can be in a conversation, be like, man, I really, really wanted to do this. And then somebody be like, my uncle does that. My aunt does something in this industry. Oh, I know fill in blank here who does this for a living, who's famous. Yes. And it's like, but because you're so in the I need to do this on my own, you've wasted 4 years trying to figure this out when the person you needed is right there in your Rolodex. Yes. Right? Yes. Because you don't want to embrace community. You don't want to seem vulnerable. Now it's just like, man, shoot. Hey, I don't know a whole lot of things. Who in the room can help me get there? Exactly. And you know what? And what ends up happening is the person you bless and they bless you, the blessing is going to come 3 levels of somewhere else that's going to come back to you, right? You help this person do something because you're an expert in this thing. That person is going to be grateful, and that person is going to bless you in their way. But the big blessing is going to come 3 levels away from them in some other type of way that's going to connect everything and bring it back to this place. Yes, indeed. Yes. But if you don't have the willingness to lean in on that, if you're always looking for like, what am I getting out of this? Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and just get used. But what I am saying is when there's an opportunity to serve and it's not putting you in a place that's going to like cost you like something that's going to be a net negative for you, you lean in on it, right? If you're, a great financial person and knows how to help people through some money stuff, hey, offer 2 hours a week of consulting. Put together a quick class over at the church, the community center or something, and teach people, basic finance. If they want more, maybe they can, put a love offering out and maybe you can help them out even more. But our talents aren't meant to just be harbored and just held in and just be like, you know how to get at me, just, fill out this paperwork. And it's like, no, dude, like share a word with someone. Yes. You're an expert at something, help someone who's a youth. Yes. Right. I have mentoring sessions like clockwork with my young people. Hey, Miss Vital, can I sit down with you? Yeah. All I ask for you to do is come prepared, set an appointment, and we're going to do this officially because I'm gonna treat you like a grown man or a grown woman when we do this. We're going to do it correctly. But I'm going to give you what's needed, 30, 45 minutes. They just need to just get the ideas out there, because what ends up happening is when you represent, God in the light of you shine, people want to see what's up with what's going on with Yehloe. Why is he always happy? Why is he so successful? Why does it seem like his family life is awesome? Why don't I find out what he's doing that I'm not? Mm-hmm. People want to see what's going on with you. So they want to ask you, hey, how are you managing your money? How are you managing your home? How are you with your children? How are you at your job? And so, but you have to be willing to do that. Yes. Right? You need to be a willing participant in this. And so many people are just trying to figure out, like, let me see how I can work through this, and what am I going to get out of this? Forget how you're going to get out of this. You do good deeds, it has to come back. It's seed time and harvest time. That's not my opinion. That is life, right? You do enough good for people, help enough people get what they want, and you will be overwhelmingly blessed in ways you can't even think of. Yes, but see, so many people are like, I'm trying to get this raise, I'm trying to get this. Why don't you provide the greatest number of service to the greatest number of people in the greatest spirit you can provide? And then just watch the game unfold for you.
Watch the game unfold, definitely. Definitely.
Many people have that back, and they're wondering, like, hey, when am I going to get more? When are you giving? When are you giving and not asking, where's mine?
Exactly.
Your mind is the fact that you looked over at somebody else who was less fortunate than you and said, you know what? I feel good knowing that someone is walking away from here happy and fulfilled in what I was able to provide for them.
Yes.
That's bigger than a check. Because see, what they don't realize is that when you do enough of that too, when you go back into your work, you go back into your business, you have a little pep in your step, right? You do things a little bit differently. And people say, you know what? That Yehloe's a good guy over there. You know what? I think we want to book you again for another talk.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
But see, that people don't understand how God puts us in position to be able to do those things. Mm-hmm. And you are thinking about yourself instead of thinking about something outside of your home, outside of the confines of your little cubicle, outside of the confines of your office. Like, who can benefit from what I can offer to the game of life?
Yes, indeed.
When you get to the point where you're asking yourself every morning, like, what if you made a goal to bless 2 people a day in some kind of way? Mm-hmm. It can be through a compliment. It can be through personal touch. It can be through financial. Mm-hmm. You buy them a cup of coffee, buy them lunch. I'm saying, just how about 2 acts of, like, is it your intent to provide at least 2 acts of kindness per day? What do you think what would happen to somebody's life if they intently did that?
Oh my goodness, it'd definitely be mass elevation. That's for certain. Mass elevation in ways that they probably wouldn't even see coming, irregardless.
Many times, man, to live a great life, to live a purposeful, righteous, value-driven life, it's not really complicated. Just like it's not really complicated to become wealthy. My mentor used to tell me, like, I'll say, what's the best way to become wealthy? He says, spend less than you make.
True.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
you make $1, you spend 70 cents, you have 30 cents, which means you have wealth. You're not broke.
Yeah.
But if you make $1 and you spend $2.50, well, you're in debt. $1.50.
Definitely.
So it's real. A lot of the things, like the way life is really is basic and elementary. Mm-hmm. We make it complicated with all these extra things when it's just like, how about you just be a good gal, a good guy? How about we just start there? Be respectful.
Yeah.
Like, love people, take care of one another.
Yeah.
Love your home. Love your community.
A lot of people focus more on the in-betweens in life, and that's what I call them, the in-betweens. Like, take, for example, if I'm getting up in the morning, I go to work, and I'm doing my job, to the best of my ability. Now, I didn't say I get up, I go take my shower, I eat breakfast. When it's time to eat lunch, I go eat lunch. I skip all of those things because those are not the focus. The focus is the motivational piece of actually getting up on time, getting to work on time, and allowing whatever your work does for you to do what it's going to do, whether that's to get you that promotion that you've been looking for without saying it, without putting any unnecessary efforts into it, without any of that. If that's going to happen, it's going to happen. Then I reap these other benefits of being able to take better care of my family. I got a wife, I got children. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm better able to take care of my family. Why? Because I put in the work. It wasn't about all those things that happen in between. I'm not going to keep focusing on everything that happens in between. Focus on the goal, go for it, and leave out all of the judgments, the complaints, the negative connotations. Leave all those things out and focus. That's another thing that we fail to do. We fail to focus on what our goals are and then go for it. Are there going to be hurdles? Yes, there are. Are we going to be prepared for every hurdle? No, we're not. But in the essence that, like you said, that we continue to do these good deeds, we continue to do the things that we need to do, the answer will lie at the time that it needs to, in order for you to overcome that hurdle and continue doing what you need to do to be your level of success, because everybody's level of success is not the same. In order to be your level of success, it will be right there, ready and waiting for you. Why? Because you're doing what you're supposed to do.
I like your in-betweens because I think you highlight something that's very important and the audience needs to know. It's interesting when you ask someone how they're doing and they say, oh, I'm okay. But it's like if their day is going bad, they got all the details. Man, I woke up this morning, man. I spilled some coffee on my shirt, man. My kid was screaming. You know, they were late to the bus. I had to take them into school. It's just like you just wrote a whole chapter about everything that was negative. So when you talk about those in-betweens, I do this in some of my coaching things where it's just like, you find a guy, because even my book Now What was written on a profile of, I was like, God, how do you want me to help this dude through this situation? Because it's a lot of bad receipts here. Yeah. But you say, okay, where's the win? And sometimes, man, if somebody's on the edge and we can determine what the edge is, like you're talking about possibly not valuing life much anymore. Like I'll tell them to get up and be like, you know what, get up and make your bed. Yeah. Go fold a shirt. Go take out the trash. Little things. Because if you're on the edge of that cliff, anything I can get, any inches I can get you off the edge, that's what we're doing. Yes, and so I want people to start, like you said, counting the wins. And this is where the gratitude comes in. I used to do a talk back in the day called Wake Up a Winner. And I said that when you get out of bed, the second your 2 feet hit the ground, you say, thank you. And then it's like, I had this like idea that there's like an explosion. Like you said, thank you. And like, boom. And it's like this explosion. And so at that moment, it's like the mind map pops up. And you got to fill in the circle of all of the things. Why did you say thank you? Yes. What are you thankful for? Yes. And so I said, every step you take to the bathroom, you say a gratitude for each one of them. And you're just like spitting them out. Like, man, I got life. I got a roof over my head. I got 2 awesome kids. Man, I got a wife who's doing this. Man, I got a job that's doing this. Man, I'm about to start. It's just like, and you just start running through those. And of course, you'll get to the point later where you want to write those down. But I just want you to give yourself a chance, because when you hit out to the streets, right, there's darkness waiting on you outside, right? Poverty's always waiting on the other side of wealth. Sickness is always on the other side of health. Discourse is always on the other side of unification, right? It's all the polar opposite of what you don't want. It's always waiting. The second you slip up on your money, poverty's right there to just be like, I'm ready, And so I want to put people in a position where it's like, at least put a light raincoat on before you go out into the rain. Just have a little bit of protection. Yeah, it's still gonna rain. It rains from the just and the unjust. We know this. However, you can at least put yourself in a situation where you're just like, I see you rain out here, but I'm protected by something greater than this. I'm a grateful human being. I can go out here and conquer, right? I have people depending on me. I have people waiting on my service. I have people waiting to love on me. I'm waiting for people to go, lay some hand, like all of these different things. And so when you're talking about that in betweens, that really struck me from the standpoint of, how about we focus on where there's good in your life? You know what I'm saying? Because like anybody who has a family, the first thing I say is like, are you not grateful for what you created in your house? Like, let's start with that blessing first, because if we can't start there, then we got nothing. Okay. So that's sort of my, getting at the core of things, right? But those in-betweens where you focus on, man, like, yeah, life has enough negation. Can we recognize the negation, take it down? Is there something we can do about it? Okay, then let's do something about it. If it's not, hey, it's occupying real estate in your head. You don't really know nothing about. It's kind of a principle I have. It's called, it's not your fault, but it is your problem. I was leaving the other morning and my neighbor's trash can was in my front yard. It's not my can. I know before I went to bed last night, I didn't put it out there. My can is securely on the side of the house.
Exactly.
But their trash can is in my yard. Now I could be like, well, I didn't do it. Whose yard is it? Whose responsibility is it? And I want people to think from that standpoint to where you own something that you didn't cause. We deal with this all the time.
Yes.
Right? If your kid turns up at school and breaks a door, that ain't really your fault, but hey, we're gonna need you to cut a check. We're gonna need you to cut a check for this over here, or we're gonna need to do something. Little man finna get suspended. Something finna happen that's gonna cost you. So we have to learn to deal with those types of things, but we have to try to keep as much of an upbeat attitude, because otherwise, man, you could take yourself to some seriously dark places, and you just don't want too many of those days to compound on top of each other, because too many dark days leads to some dire situations, right? And we all have loved ones, whether it's alcoholism, whether it's anxiety, mental health issues, depression, suicidal thoughts. It's very bad in our teenage girls right now. And so we have to not only support one another, but put ourselves in an optimal position to see that life is pretty doggone awesome. Even on your worst days. And I mean, I have these moments too. I mean, I'm not immune to this. I'm teaching you this. I'm literally talking to myself and to your audience at the same time, because there's some days I'm just like, well, goodness gracious, this is a lot of mess here. What am I supposed to do with all of this?
Yes.
And it's just like, you just sit back and say, dude, you own a home. Your family loves you. You have income coming in. You have food. You have great health. You have people who support you. If you called on anyone, they'll be there to encourage you. Why are you sitting here even thinking about any of this nonsense? And then, like, you're back.
Exactly.
Because it's almost like you had to do a self-checking system. Right? Take personal inventory of the game. And so yeah, the focus has to be on that, like you said, success is not the same for everybody. And that's a whole nother podcast for another time. We're gonna talk about that kind of stuff, because that'll get me riled up on a whole nother level.
I want to add a little tidbit to what you were saying, because I love the way you put that out there, because people really need to hear these things, and they need to understand that although these things are a part of life, just like you said, we have to work through them. Now, when I wake up in the morning, my thing is, grand rising. Just like the store has a grand opening, and you can use this, be my guest. My thing is grand rising. And the reason why I say that is because when I wake up in the morning, it may not be a good morning. Focus on the word morning, morning meaning sad. For me, it's that grand rising because I woke up and my eyes opened up, my heart opened up, my blood continued to flow from the time that I was sleeping up until the time I opened my eyes. And guess what I see? I didn't see the sun because I wake up too early to see the sun. But guess what I did see? I saw the moon, another portion of the solar system. I saw an opportunity to see myself in the mirror. I remembered that I have this beautiful wife lying next to me. It's just like, you know, all the wonderful things that are happening, grand rising. You have awakened to all these beautiful things. And guess what? Acknowledge them. Acknowledge all these beautiful things and take these things in before you start your day. And I just sit up. I literally sit up on the edge of my bed and I absorb all the positive things, all the positive affirmations that I have for myself and for my life before I even stand up to go to the restroom, to go get dressed, to brush my teeth, to do anything that grand rising, because I'm showing and paying homage not only to the ancestors that taught me before they decided to pass away or before they passed away, but also to that higher self and the higher being that's beyond oneself. That's my grand rising. So every day to me is a great day. It's a grand day every day. And nothing can change that.
That's interesting. I must say that is a first, but quite the intellectual a way of conceptualizing your morning routine, and clearly it's working for you. You know, I think the main thing, at least my takeaway from it, is it's just a level of gratitude. And if you have gratitude, to me, you have a shot. You know, when you up your gratitude in life, I think that a lot of amazing things can happen for you.
Yes, indeed.
Because it takes the entitlement, it takes the what's in it for me. It takes it ups your service, ups your humility, and drops down your selfishness. Because you're always looking for the good of others, and invariably realizing that pours into you as well.
Indeed, indeed. Now, I was also reading about I am more than enough. And I am more than enough seems to be broad. It's like it can open up a lot of doors. So please elaborate on that. What does that mean in your words?
So I Am More Than Enough was my second book, which I technically wrote twice.
Okay.
I'd written it as a mini book first, and then I expounded upon it. And it really came because I was the church I used to attend asked me to come teach at a Wednesday night service. And I remember doing that talk there. I think the name of the talk was Good from the Start. And I talked about the night after my father died. And the assistant youth and family minister was in the audience, and she's like, you know, you have a great delivery and I think you do good work. Would you mind putting together a 3-part series for our teenagers? You know, like a seminar, come do it for them. I'm like, sure, I'll try it out, whatever. You know, I hadn't done any of this work up to this point. And so I put together a 3-part series titled I Am More Than Enough. And I taught that 3 consecutive weeks. I think the first week we had about 25, 27 students. The next week it was in the mid 30s. And by the third week, they brought in extra tables because we were over 40, like in consecutive weeks. And there were people coming up to me saying, thank you so much for what you're doing. My kid actually wants to come to church now. And I'm just like, what is going on here? Like, I'm literally a hired speaker. I mean, I go to church here, but I've been in the background this whole time. So when I got done with the 3 weeks, she's like, "Would you like to stay around, um, and maybe do some volunteer work?" And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." And ironically enough, now that I look back and think on it, she pulled me in to that assignment, and she was gone within a month. So God knew to put me in that position to accept that. And the person who brought me in left, and another gentleman came in and taught me team ministry and, taught me how to, work with them and things of that nature. But I Am More Than Enough started as a 3-part series to teach teens. And it really focuses on, because it says 3 ways to overcome the fear of your own reflection. And so the first point of I Am More Than Enough is about your image, meaning when you talked about earlier, you said, you go in there and you see a reflection, you see yourself, and it's just like, all right, who is this guy? Who? It's like, who am I? What do I represent?
Exactly.
Right? If you are not having fulfillment in the reflection you have, then we need to figure out where we are in this, because you need to see a winner. You need to see, whatever you represent needs to be exhibited in that reflection, because this is you, right? This is you, all of your essence, the God in you, the spiritual light you take into the world is right there. And if you are putting a lampshade over that, we got a problem. And so I'm More Than Enough focuses on images, everything. And then, of course, when you're going through the personal inventory of finding out why we are the way we are, then you have to accept the fact that for you to be able to see the fulfilling person in that mirror, you have to be willing to take care of the change, accepting yourself. Accept, okay, I, up to this point, have been a very, mismanaged individual, or a selfish individual, or an individual who is very into himself or herself. And I haven't really branched out and looked at the good of others to be able to help me get to where I'm trying to be. And so you have to accept the fact that, like, maybe up to this point, you've missed the mark. Our faith, we call it sin. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've missed the mark. And so we need to repent and clean that up. We need to ask for forgiveness, not only to ourselves, but to those we've done some things too that wasn't so great. Remember, we're talking about rebuilding ourselves here and here, not anywhere else. The gym work, that's a whole nother conversation. Book me for that, and we'll get you tied up there too. But the bottom line is everything begins here and here. It's the heart to mind connection. And of course, the last point of it is the changes. Okay, you look in the mirror, you do or don't like what you see. It's a mixed bag. We're all a big pot of gumbo, and that's fine, right? And it's like, we're accepting the fact of what we are or what we're not. And then we decide, what's it going to be? Okay, now it's time to make the changes to be able to become that which God is calling us to be, or what we want to do in life with the backing of our Father, right? And go out there and do what needs to be done. And so those 3 things sort of gets people out of the mindset of understanding that, like, we don't just exist, we're supposed to live, right? We're not supposed to just go through the motion. And I know that society's trying to tell people, like, YOLO, do what you want, do what makes you happy. No, every season ain't about what makes you happy. Every season is supposed to be fulfilling, right? It's supposed to bring something, because we know if we create something new and something amazing, it's going to come with a cost. But see, what people don't understand is what they're telling you, that YOLO stuff is actually going to cost you more than to strive for something that's actually awesome and beneficial to society. Sitting around being a gump, a lame, that costs a lot.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? Like, you're sitting up there, like, in a state of what I call nothingness, right? That costs a bunch, because one of these days you're going to be a prodigal, and you're going to need to come back. And you know what? You got a lot of mess to clean up. And so if you're going to suffer, if you're going to count the cost of the trade-off,
right,
you may as well shoot for it while you're trying to get to the NBA, and not trying to just, mess around, in your backyard shooting hoops, right? Shoot for something that's substantial. And so that's where we want to get people thinking, because again, like, these costs are going to come, right? These costs, life is going to cost you. And we're so busy trying to be feelings based instead of being in a practical state of mind, right? Like, it's always what's possible and it was probable. Can I be an astronaut? It's possible. Is it probable? At my age, not being too good at science and math, it's probably not it's not probable. It's
totally
possible
yeah.
idealistically. So you want to put together something. You want to stretch yourself on your goals, but you also want to have something that's within the range of what you truly want. Right?
Yeah.
Like just like throwing, like you just can't keep throwing Hail Marys. Sometimes you just got to get a first down. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't just keep just like, hey, you know, we're just gonna, you know, Randy Moss this thing the whole time.
Right.
You know, sometimes you just have to, you know, work towards measurable and tangible goals.
Yes.
But people do have to understand life is not always going to be pleasant, but you can't always make it fulfilling. See, there's a huge difference in those. Fulfillment is, you know, you're a father, correct?
Yes, definitely.
Did you watch any of your children be born?
Yes, yes, definitely.
That's a process, correct?
Yes.
Like that process from what it is amazing.
It is.
Like a human is pushing out another human who's going to breathe on their own.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's pressure. That's pain. That's a trade-off. But what is the prize? There's a beautiful human life sitting here who is living and breathing on their own. It costs to bring that beauty into life.
Yeah.
That is life. The idea of you are pushing towards something. You are going towards something that is major. It is going to be painful and it is going to cost you almost up to your life to achieve what you want to get.
Yes, indeed.
But you know what? It is so doggone worth it. It's so worth it. And any woman out there who's a mother can absolutely tell you it's absolutely worth it. Of carrying and nurturing all those months. And it's like, if this is the pay, this is the Super Bowl. And we won.
Yes.
Right? And it's a beautiful thing. Now take that into life.
Yes.
It's a cost and a trade-off.
But
the reward is more than worth it.
Yeah. I talk to young men about these things, mentoring them and telling them about, you know, becoming a father. You got to understand that when you're becoming a father, there's a whole lot of other work that comes with that. There's beauty, there's pain, there's so many different emotions, there's so many different things that goes along with being a father. But you got to understand that you have to have one key thing, and that's the willingness to bear every moment that's going to come your way. Every moment. Not some days I want to step away, some days I don't want to do anything. No, none of that matters. Not to a real father. Not to a real father, none of that matters. What matters is being able to be there every step of the way, from the beginning all the way up into as far as you can go. Because you don't ever know how far we're going to make it. But being there that whole entire time, those are things that matter not only to you, but they also matter to your children. And you'll be surprised at how much they matter to your children's friends, how much they matter to your friends, to your family members that see you doing everything that you're supposed to do as a real father. You'll be surprised. So
I admire what you just said, and I receive that on a whole nother level, because the willingness to bear everything, that's responsibility and accountability in the purest form. Like you're saying, I maybe didn't even make a decision on this, but that's my child. And I take responsibility for bringing that child to this place, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
I may not have caused any of it, but that's my child. And I have to lean in on the idea that I am in charge of ushering him or her through this moment. So I bear all of that. I'm willing to bear all of that. And until this becomes an autonomous human being on his or her own. Yes. And even then, I'm still a consultant at that point in time.
Yes.
And I'm still a support staff.
Yes.
And I'm still a consigliere. I'm still a prayer partner. I'm whatever you need me to be.
Yes.
I'm your biggest cheerleader, biggest supporter. Because I mean, you know, and I think that's another part of society that's been lost too. We've lost the generations of coming together as a family, because the grenade has been thrown into so many family homes right now to where we don't even know who each other are. And it's unfortunate because we've already lost like 2 to 3 generations already. And you know, there's still hope. There's still a chance. But it's going to be some rough nights and some tough days. But it's worth it, because as you stated, the willingness to bear everything. It's like we didn't get here overnight, and it's not going to be fixed overnight.
Exactly.
We just got to just sit back, roll our sleeves up. This isn't the time for the 3-piece suits. It's time to get down and dirty in the trenches.
Exactly.
And you know, like, all right, who's willing to work on this railroad work? You know, those guys who work under the streets, the guys who lay tar. That type of work is what is going to happen for us to restore the righteousness of our communities across the country. We see it every day, and it's not looking good, but there's a spark or two. I'm seeing there's a spark or two. And for a true winner, that's all you need. All you need is enough. I just need a flicker of light, so that I'll just say, hey, keep flicking that light. I'm going to go to the station. I'm going to go get some gas. I'm going to douse you with it, and let's go with this. So that's kind of where I see things.
I got to give one other piece to this, and that's the fact that as a parent, parenting, this is something me and my wife say all the time, parenting doesn't come with a book of instructions, but it does come with trial and error. And as long as you have, once again, that key word, the willingness to bear and be there for each and every breaking moment, you will get through those trials. You will get through those errors. You will get through the tribulations, and the reward at the end is your being there, as well as the outcome of your seeds.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, and we need more of that. You know, we need a lot more of that, and I applaud families who have made the choice to stay in the trenches together in the foxhole as one unit, because you can't split the unit up and think that success is going to come from it. I'm not saying it can't, but numbers don't lie. You are far less likely to come out, even if both are involved. It's still not. There's always going to be something missing, because there's more questions than answers when those situations coming up. I'm a product of that, right? Like, I mean, there's questions I've been asking for almost 40 years. And it's like, I finally got the answers to them. And obviously I've been able to compartmentalize those things over time, but they had a trade-off as well. I'm grateful for where it is, but it's like, I came up at a different time. I didn't come up during the age of Facebook, social media, and AI.
Exactly.
Right? Life was a little more simple, you know, in the 90s, in the 80s.
In the 80s and 90s, yes.
So it's so many more distractions. I didn't have as many distractions. We actually read books, you know.
Yes.
The phone we had was stationary and sat in the corner. It was one of them, and it was between the living room and the kitchen. And it stayed right there.
Yes.
And you had to flip dial over, you know what I'm saying? Touch tones came later.
Yes.
And it's just, there's a lot of work to be done. And you know, I don't know what your age is, but I'm pretty sure you're close to my age or whatever. Like, a colleague of mine asked me something the other day.
Proud to say 51, brother. I'm proud to say 51.
Okay, we are of the same generation. We're both Gen X. Both Gen X.
Definitely.
So A colleague of mine asked me a question and he said, "Are you willing to continue doing the work you do, knowing you may not be as live to see the fruition of it?" And I sat back for a second. I didn't pause for too long. I said, "You know what? You doggone right I would. I
Yes.
sign up for that all day because my goal is to pour into basically the 12-year-olds through like the 28-year-olds, like to get that group and just unload all of the pouring into I can do, right? To where I'm just exhausted
Yes.
every day. Just giving them all of it every day. And creating a duplication of myself in a few of them. We don't need many because you bring enough light, they'll attract me. But let's just say in my lifetime I can duplicate myself 5 times. And I want them to be 10 times greater than I can be.
Yes.
That's all. That's all I can pray and ask. It's something of that magnitude because I plan on being extremely successful. So if these guys are timesing me by 10, then now each of them can go find their 5. And by the time we're looking 100 years from now, 200 years from now, now we can restore some order in this thing. Yes. Now we can get to where yes. Hey, we got the streets going where everybody's keeping their lawn kept up. Yes. And we don't have as many issues in these streets. And guys can look across and see that there's mother and father on more than half the houses in their neighborhood, as opposed to what we look at now, which is a complete inverse of that.
It is. But we stand strong in the old school saying, each one teach one. So if I teach somebody something and they go back and teach somebody else something, and then that person follows up and teach somebody else something, and it continues to trickle up where we are all learning something, we couldn't ask for anything better. That's our AI right there.
Well, and we have to overly duplicate our efforts because again, the numbers over time, we've seen that like the number of those who are going to get it are not in our favor. It's just not, and so we may have to hit 100 just to get 12 to 15. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate, but that is. Like we can't change those numbers. I mean, all the way back to biblical, it wasn't a ton of people. There's a reason why the greatest ever rode with 12. 12. Okay. So we take that into context. It's like, we're going out and trying to reach as many as possible. So we gotta go touch a bunch to get the numbers we need to change the tides of things. 100%.
I'm willing to take on that challenge.
Hey man, I got enough scars and been beat up and fought enough bears to where it's like, you know what? Like they say, these old boats, like, hey man, I still got some life left in me, man. I've had a resurgence. I'm in my 40s and I'm in the second best shape I've ever been in my life outside of when I played college football. So it's just like, hey, I'm reloaded.
Yes.
Let's go do something. I mean, hey, let me go ahead and armor up my guys.
Yes,
indeed. To get to battle, and let's go get this thing taken care of.
Yes, indeed. That mental armor, nothing stronger. There's nothing stronger than that mental armor. So, Mr. Ahmard, it has definitely been a super pleasure having you, brother. I mean, when I look at the brotherly love, it don't get no stronger than this, bro. For real talk. And I'm definitely happy that we have you on board in this society, helping to elevate our youth, because we need that. We need that in so many different ways that I can't even name them all. But I tell you, it's a joy, it's a pleasure to have you on this plane. Another Gen X, yes. So take us out with something inspirational, something that you feel like would be awesome, not only for the audiences, but even for your peers to look back on this and know where you're coming from?
I'm going to stay consistent with this. Words from my father. Fatherly wisdom is beautiful. And this is a quote he shared with me when I was very young. He said, live the best life you can, then give it all away. Live the best life you can, then give it all away. If you don't wake up each morning with a heart for service, with a heart for doing for others, with an altruistic mindset, then I think we need to take a little bit more time and look in the mirror and ask what it is that you are looking to accomplish in this world. Because if it's not to make the lives of others better, what the heck are you doing? Right? This life is not about you. This life is about those you touch. Right? I remember my father had me speak for him at a funeral one time. And I used the quote, and I have no idea who to attribute this to, but it's not mine, but it is beautiful. And it said, ask not how many people will mourn you when you die, but how many people were better off because you lived. And so when you take that and internalize that, if that's your mission and attitude and heart going into every day, how much better is the game of life for everybody you touch? So I want you to go out there, serve, and tap into a community. Tap into like-minded people, whether it's around the church, whether it's around a sports team, whether it's around a school, whether it's around a community center, whether it's around a nonprofit. I don't care where it is. I need you to go out and find a community so that you can tap into, and that when you are in need, you don't fight the battles of life alone. Where you can stand out there and say, you know what? I am broken today. Can someone pray for me? Can someone pour into me? Can someone hug me? Can someone love me? And then you do the same for others. If there's anything I can leave with your audience, it's those things. Those are the things that make life more fulfilling. You don't seek happiness. You seek fulfillment and service. When you get to that point, life becomes amazing because you realize when it's not about you, you're not looking for outside sources for your happiness. You're looking for internal fulfillment. And when you do that, life is as beautiful as it was meant to be.
Indeed, indeed, my brother. Indeed, indeed. Thank you so much. So much. I'm pretty sure this message is going to reach a lot of people. And I just hope that it not only reaches them mentally, but touch their hearts. Touch the hearts. Touch the mind and the hearts. And have those things cycle together and spread the word. That's what we need. That's what we need as a people. That's what we need as men. And that's what we need more of. Thanks a lot, my brother, Mr. Ahmard. Peace and blessings to you, my brother. Most definitely shoot me an email so that I can definitely keep in touch with you. And I will shoot you my email as well. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to be able to do some more stuff like this. You're in Dallas, I'm in Gerald.
I'm in North Houston.
You're North Houston. Okay, North Houston. Well, you're in Houston, I'm in Gerald. It's only a couple hours away.
Make it work. Let's make it happen.
But thanks a lot, my brother. Peace and blessings. And you have a wonderful one, bro. And keep doing what you're doing, my brother. Peace out.